Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, well, yeah, great. I mean, episode 36. I mean, what an awesome number 36 is. I remember when I
I
was 36.
know. Just before we came on, I might embarrass Tom here, but I was just talking about how magnificent Tom's hair looks today.
It's my well, yes, one. I do have more hair than most people at 43.
Strong hair game. Strong hair game.
It's sort of
Um,
hair game.
so, right, guys, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about what we believe to be the five most important health markers for not even just for elite performance. We're talking about elite performance as I think it's a bar, you want to work towards, but this is just for any performance, any areas in life that you want to be your best at. So I don't even think elite's just sort of pushing it out there, but I think
Hmm.
for performance in all areas. Okay, so we're going to give you the five that we believe to be the most important. Do you want to kick off? And by the way, hopefully we've got the same five.
Yes, I think so. But yeah, I think elite. I don't know. Everyone's elite's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go on. I really want to be like 50, performing at 50% in all parts of my life. That's where I'm aiming. I don't think anybody wants that. I don't think so. First for me, I'm going to go for sleep.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and just to sort of reaffirm that, obviously we said elite performance, but these health markers are for everybody. These are things everybody should be focusing on, whether
Yeah.
you've got 20 kids or you're a CEO of the big companies, right? These are fundamental. So
But
sleep is,
the cool thing about these, like if you want to be in this world now, you, if you do these basic stuff, if you actually do the basics, you'll automatically be above the rest because most
yeah,
people aren't doing any of this stuff.
yeah, 100%. So sleep, number one,
Yeah.
and these aren't necessarily in an order, but sleep, as we know, and a lot more is being researched about it, is absolutely fundamental in performing at your best, helping to manage weight, energy levels, and there's also been so much more research into if you have poor sleep, especially for a sustained period of time. Unfortunately, you're at much higher risk of dementia and Alzheimer's, and a lot of those things are becoming much more prevalent. So sleep's massive, right?
Yeah, and almost I think sometimes almost like sleep seen as like a good night's sleep seen as like a nice to have rather than a something that we should all have. And I suppose I'm not saying that every day you're going to wake up and spring out of bed like a gazelle, but most nights you should be getting enough, and that enough is different for every single person as well. So yeah, I think it's if you want to, if I haven't slept well, I suppose one of the main things like is making the right decision. I definitely find it harder to in my decision making process.
The
Whereas
next
that,
day, if you haven't slept well,
yeah, exactly. Like being able
brain
to,
fog.
yeah, brain fog. Um, automatically, I'm pulled towards probably higher fat and sugary foods as well.
Well, our bodies, our hormones change, don't they? And we naturally crave those higher fat, higher sugar foods. So it has a knock
Yeah,
on effect, not just energy levels, but the food you eat, which then in turn has a knock on effect because your energy levels are low. And
yeah,
I heard something this morning when they were talking about sleep on a podcast, and a lot of people have sleep anxiety now. And
mm,
that is where they're tired at say 8, 9, but when they actually go to bed at say 11, they've already told themselves that they don't sleep well and they're not going to sleep very well.
yeah.
So you're almost like attracting into your life bad sleep because of so many years of not being able to sleep well. So you're literally drawing that attention to it. And where our brain goes, we give attention to things, you're focusing the
Yeah.
energy on it,
Well,
almost attracting, I'm not going to have a good night's sleep.
well, exactly. The words we use are important. Uh, when we get up for a really good example is getting up for you got an early flight and you've got to get up at like 4 o'clock and you just go to bed going, oh, I'm not going to sleep well. I know I've got to
Yeah.
get up at 4 o'clock, and you never sleep well. But if you say to somebody, well, what if you spoke positively about it? They go, well, that doesn't work. I mean, it's like that kind of belief. We definitely believe that the negative is true, but we don't
Yeah.
believe that actually if we speak differently, we don't believe the other side of it. But yeah, it's yeah that I didn't realize there was an actual a name towards it. But yeah, sleep anxiety. Um, I think I have had that. You know, when I used to wake up in the night and go, "Oh, I'm awake," oh,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to get back to sleep. And I'd lie there not getting back to sleep because I was almost getting stressed out at the idea of not sleeping. So it was a
And
self-fulfilling
stress
prophecy.
isn't exactly going to help you sleep, is it? The more you're anxious or stressed or telling yourself. And by the way, guys, we're not going to go into all these 5 in like any massive depth, because we have actually talked about all of these in separate lives. But
Yep.
what we're going to do is just maybe give you a reintroduction, should we say, call it that, or just a little reminder of how important these things are. So first one, sleep. I'll give you number 2, and that is exercise. You know, if you're going to look to perform at your best, there's no way you will unless you are exercising regular. And that doesn't even have to be that much, right? What is it? 30 minutes, 5 times a week, is it? That could be a walk.
Exactly. Even less than that. You could if you're being efficient, you're going to get some really big long-term benefits to how your life is and how you're performing, with just a little regular sustained kind of time put into it. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't have to be a lot. Quite often people think, well, I need to go to the gym 5 times a week for an hour, 5-6 times a week every day for an hour and a half to get any benefits, whereas you don't.
No, you really don't as well, and I think that's important to emphasize. So yeah, exercise. If you're not doing it regular, then you are literally you're just never going to perform at your best. And I think the added benefits is you almost don't realize how good you could feel by exercising regular, and also like how much it helps reduce your stress levels, improve your mood, improve your productivity. And there's been hundreds of studies of this, of going for a walk after your lunch break and coming back much more productive. I was listening to one this morning where they followed a lot of, like, they done a study. It's massive, 150,000 people. Some didn't exercise, some did, and they followed them for like 2 years, done the study on them, and they're much more productive because they exercised than the group that didn't exercise. So the science is there. It's data research. You know, it's fundamental if you want to perform at your best. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to be in the gym 5 times a week.
No. If you like walking your dog, then walk your dog every day. If you like you said, a walk after lunch. If you like doing Zumba, do Zumba. And it's keeping your body moving. And it is, like you said, the science is so strong behind it. It's kind of almost like the magic pill. Sometimes I've heard it mentioned that exercise has so many benefits. The biggest thing for me is how I feel.
Yeah,
I always feel better when I've moved my body, and if I've had a stress, if the stress levels are getting up a little bit, or it's a bit of kind of like a break from it, isn't it? You go in there, you can't think about much else when you're I don't know, pushing out your last set of press ups.
Yeah, 100%. And also, you know, if we're going to go a little bit further, like I said, we're going to talk about all these in huge amount of depth. But if you do add some resistance or strength training, they're also real key markers in longevity as well. Like what they've realised now with a lot of research, a lot of studies, is that if you did things like grip strength, like that has an indicator on dementia. They can predict dementia and things like that from grip strength, because it's about the muscles that you have and deterioration, and also depression as well. I heard this morning there's a link. If they could find out from someone's grip strength, which is mad because they've done a study, and they can say if someone's more likely to suffer with depression or not. And grip strength has a factor on it. And they looked at it and was like, yeah, but maybe it's because these people are healthier. So then they got rid of all the healthy people from the study. And it wasn't because they were healthier, but it's something to do around the strength. So it's it's mad, right?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I'll say I think some of these studies are amazing out there. They find these little connections.
Yeah.
And yeah, I suppose you're just adding weight to the, I suppose if you are struggling to get into the habit of getting into exercise, quite often we just need that little thing that ticks us over. And sometimes reading these studies and reinforcing it, one day it kind of just clicks and you go, do you know what? That thing has made that change in my mindset to do it. And I suppose thinking about performance at work, if you're walking into a high pressured meeting, if you're walking in with a good, strong body, you're much more likely you're going to go into it with a different mindset than if you're walking in feeling a bit frail. And it changes things in all walks of your life.
I think it also helps you to prepare for like challenges and things that are going on. know, when you're feeling fit, when you're feeling healthy, and you're feeling energetic, when you're exercising, you'll have a challenge, and it doesn't seem to take as much like mental capacity. I think you're much better equipped to deal with the challenges that happen. And I'm sure people that have had periods of time when they felt fit, they felt healthy, they felt more energetic, they have been happier. They have been able to deal with challenges more. They have had less stress, because I think your brain then has got less going on, right? Less of, oh, I should be exercising, I should be doing this. You've got a bit more, I guess, a bit more free space, right? To have a bit more clarity on thinking. You know, it'll make sense, right?
I think you're exactly right.
All right, what next? Well, this is reminding what we got so far. We've got sleep and food, healthy food, ideally.
Yeah, I think food. Yeah, I think food's a good. It's probably not a surprise to anybody out there. But it's funny. I was talking to my children about food and diet, and about you are literally created from the food you consume.
Mm-hmm.
That your body metabolizes it and makes it into new bits of your body. And every 7 years, is it 7 years or 11 years?
I think so. 7. I thought
7 years. You are a totally new person.
All new cells. Yeah.
Yeah. Based on the food you've consumed. So yeah, it has to be a part of your life. And I'm not saying going on a diet. I'm saying that 80% of the time you're eating foods that resemble what they originally were. So it's something that, again, that's for me, that's one of the biggest things actually when I look at the food. Is it, can I see what's in it? Can I recognize what's in it? And there's been so much about, like, recently about kind of hyper processed foods and how it's endemic and it's hard to get away from, and it is quite tricky, isn't it? That now I try to make sure that most of my food, I think 70-80% of the time, I recognize.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to get away from, but that's not saying, by the way, as well, like, you shouldn't have a few processed foods. I think it's actually very difficult to go, do you know what, I'm never going to eat any processed foods and I'm going to just eat whole foods, because some certain processed foods are actually, like, they're not going to kill you. You know, you don't suddenly have a McDonald's or a Burger King and you drop down, die. It's not like that. But over a period of time, you know, if that is your whole diet most of the time, it's not going to be good for you. You're not going to feel good. It's not going to be good for you. But like you say, if you have 80% of the time good, balanced whole foods with a bit of freedom for 20%, and I don't know, a cookie or a pizza or something here and there, you're probably also going to be healthier in mind as well than trying to be ultra strict all the time. Because I don't think that's healthy. If your diet's making you feel anxious, and I saw this today, or worried, or, you know, like there's too much pressure to stick to it, then that's not good either, is it? Because that's not going to help you to feel good about yourself, where you're going out for dinner and you're worried about could you eat out, or, you know, or going on holiday. That's not going to work.
Yeah, that old adage that the best diet is the one that you can stick to. The best, and that's it, isn't it? It's if you can't ever have the stuff that you really love, then that's a pretty miserable existence. And I think that's where most diets are built, on that restriction. And because I guess it makes sense, doesn't it, that we would have to get rid of everything. And I think sometimes the all or nothing approach feels easier when you start, but it's very difficult to keep going. So maybe 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, you're okay.
Yeah.
But then it gets really mentally difficult to do.
I think the big thing, and we've talked about this so many times before, is that if there's a thing like weight loss that you've not been able to conquer, you've not been able to quite figure it out, you think there's got to be this one amazing silver bullet solution.
Yeah.
And there isn't. It doesn't work like that. But if you can look at adding things like fruit, vegetables, and don't get me started on people that say you shouldn't eat fruit, you know, all these crazy things, like, because it confuses people. But maybe close the window of eating, so you're not eating late or first thing, you know, so you've got a big window to eat. Have some, like, high protein, you know, you're gonna move forward, aren't you? You know, maybe reduce the processed foods, because those things aren't necessarily, they don't fill you very much. You don't get much bang for your buck, do you? There's not much nutritional value. So, you know, cut down those. Do those like 4 or 5 things. You're going to be in a much better place, right?
Yeah, and I think I like the idea that you said about adding in. So don't take anything away. Add something in.
Maybe all the biscuits, if you're a biscuit fiend or something.
So, maybe having a pack of biscuits a day. Maybe go down to half a packet. I mean, that's the kind of habits that we would work with our clients, wouldn't it? It's a matter of like, how can we be better, not perfect and not best? How can we be a tiny bit better every single week? And that's how you build that big, like, long-term change. And I think that's probably what most people want. I don't think anybody, again, I've spoken to says, well, I really, really want to change my diet and get healthy and lose weight, but I only want to do it for the next 3 months. And after that, I'd like to go back to how I was. I don't think anybody ever says that.
No, 100%. So I think number 4 would be, again, going to basics like hydration. You know, I had a pint of water earlier.
Was that a Stella glass?
That is a Stella glass, but it was just it wasn't a pint of Stella. It was a pint of water. But yeah, like as basic as it sounds, hydration. Because again, if you're not hydrated, then you have the brain fog. You struggle making decisions on food and decisions on obviously work, or you know, you're going to be a bit more stressed because your energy levels aren't going to be very, very good. And again, it's a basic one, right? Yeah, hydration. Make sure your body's hydrated.
It's a basic one. It's one that everybody knows. It's one that I would say the vast majority of people struggle with. And I think probably the main reason is building those habits is actually quite tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually having the habit of doing it. And I think probably in England, I think my dad drank just tea and coffee and beer.
My dad doesn't drink water.
And that's my example. So it's maybe but I think if most people I know when they go on holiday to hot countries probably drink more water. So I think it is probably, maybe it's our country, maybe it's part of the culture, but that doesn't mean we can't change it a little bit. And habits, again, habit creation is something that we specialize in, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the other thing that is probably important to call people out on is some people say, I don't like water, and I kind of feel like saying grow up. Like, grow up. You're not being forced to drink, I don't know, celery juice mixed with some broccoli and I don't know, mango and spirulina. You know, it's water. It's not that bad. And if you find it that much of a challenge, put a little bit of bit of squash in it, right? You're still going to get the benefits. Like that one for me is like just like one of the worst excuses ever. Like, oh, I don't like water.
Yeah, I mean,
come on.
I suppose that's part of thinking, like, maybe that's part of the benefit of having a coach is you get called out a little bit as a kind of, like you said, if you're in your 30s and 40s and saying I don't not drinking water because I don't like it, it does sound like something that my 10-year-old, when they were 6 or 7 might have said to me, and I'd be like, sorry, that doesn't wash with me. No, like I said, stick a bit if you're desperate, if you have to. Stick a little bit of juice in it. One thing I will say that I'm up here, I'm fairly lucky that our water does taste quite nice. It does. Whereas some places, when I've been in cities, sometimes the water does feel a bit odd, but even then, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's really not bad. And if you get a filter, it's even nicer. Pretty reasonable. You can get them at all stores. All right, so last one. We were actually like not struggling, but I think those 4 are like absolutely fundamental.
Yeah.
And then we were just sort of deliberating, contemplating. What do you think the 5th one was? And there could be quite a few things, but we come to the conclusion that environment's really important as well, right?
Yeah.
Either being in the right environment or not being in the right environment or having the right people around you.
Exactly. What you are surrounded with probably is one of the biggest indicators of how you look after yourself. And I would say in my life, I'd give the example of when I worked offshore. The environment I was in was very much around going out and drinking and not being healthy, and that's so I went along with that. And then when I fast forward to when I worked in an office, and I came along and I was a lot healthier, and I would come in and I'd go to the gym on lunchtime and I'd sit with my salad, and people at first they'd be like taking the mick and saying, all that rabbit food, what are you in that rubbish for? And then slowly, you'd see, I'm not taking all credit for it, but slowly you would see little pockets of people changing, and then someone would come and ask. And I was learning about health and fitness as far as a PT. They would start asking. They'd ask me questions. Go, what do you do in the gym today? And then, but the whole environment slowly changed. No one was being perfect, but it changed because there was maybe somebody like me in the corner doing this, and that maybe highlighted some of the things that maybe they wanted to do actually themselves anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think the environment has a massive impact, and I think it's one of the things that people don't necessarily think of. And I always think of this as an example. You know, let's imagine you, and we spoke about it before. Imagine you go to university for the first time, and you've got 4 housemates that are all into their fitness, they're all into healthy eating, and they all go to the gym. And maybe you're not that into it, but the influence of them gets you starting going to the gym, it gets you learning about food. Or you go to 4 others that aren't interested in the gym at all, aren't interested in healthy eating, they're getting drunk every night, they're eating, they're getting takeaways. No matter if you're strong as anything and you don't want to get involved in the takeaways and the drinking, you're going to. It's the environment that's around you. And the flip to that is if you're with the guys who are like healthy and going to the gym and eating well, you're going to be part of that too. So no matter how strong you are, you know, it's going to have an effect on you. And yeah, going to the work situation, if you've got a work culture where they're drinking every night, you're going to end up part of that. Or if you've got a work culture where, you know, if you had an office that was, I don't know, like a sports clothing brand, it's probably going to have a different feel to it because it's sports and it's that fitness ethos than I don't know, I'm trying to think of one, like, I don't know, sales, where it's a bit more, I don't want to say cutthroat, but you know, it's a bit more like maybe testosterone and ego, and there's targets. It's probably going to be a bit more of a, don't get me wrong, please salespeople don't kill me, but maybe a bit more of a drinking culture there, right?
Maybe, yes. I think we don't.
That's probably fair.
Yeah, and there's like the people probably play hard and party hard, probably.
Yeah,
that's what they do. Yeah,
Wolf of Wall Street office is going to be different to a office of fitness professionals, isn't it? Let's be honest, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also at home as well. I've had lots of clients whose partners would still buy the foods that they didn't want to eat. So yeah, I've had clients sat there at home with the food they actually want to eat, good healthy food, and their partners, like, almost maybe not maliciously, but they are just sat there with their favorite, with the takeaway, which they know is really hard for them to say no to. And that environment is really tricky if you haven't got that support at home.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think when it comes to, like, you know, performing at your best, you want to be set up for success. So if you've looked at the things we've looked at, you know, sleep, if you've got that in a good place, great. If you're eating healthy, if you're exercising, if you're drinking the water, you can have all those in place. But if your environment, again, is not set up for success, you've still got, you know, people around you that aren't helping you, and food at home that's not helping you. It's going to make all those other things harder, isn't it?
It's going to be harder. It's going to be harder. It's going to be really hard. And yeah, it's I suppose maybe the environment is the biggest. Maybe could it be the biggest one? I don't know.
Could be. You know, it maybe could be the one where
the environment. Maybe fix the environment. The other ones are easy.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of, again, going back to like research and studies, there's a lot to do with lots of things like drug addiction. A lot of that's to do with the environment it's in. I think, I can't remember the book I listened to, but a lot of the war veterans who come back from Vietnam who were addicted to drugs were because they were in that environment in Vietnam. And then when they went back to their hometown, they just weren't in that environment. A lot of them stopped. Whereas others ones that went maybe to bigger cities where there was more readily available access to drugs and stuff, they had much more problems.
Yeah,
makes sense, right?
Sense. Yeah, because you just kind of, I suppose we are social animals, aren't we? We don't really want to stand out, and we want to kind of go with the flow a little bit. I suppose that probably starts when you're a teenager, when you start wanting to when everyone wants to look the same. Yeah, we all had curtains at school, didn't we?
We did. Guilty as charged. Right, guys. So look, what we wanted to do is just almost give you a reminder, or if you haven't tuned into any of our lives before, because we have talked about all of these individually, we wanted to give you a reminder of like what we believe are the top five markers. And if there's things that you're going to take away to concentrate on from today, sleep is massive, nutrition, exercise, your environment, and hydration. Like they're absolute fundamentals. Unless you're making a specific, I guess, game plan to work on those and figure out those areas, you're never going to perform at your best, right?
No, you're not. And I say, you're either you're leaving money on the table at work, you're not being the dad that you could be, that you could be. You're not being the partner you could be. So yeah, all those things are going to be, you're not going to be performing at your best in all those areas.
Nice. Right, we'll wrap up there. So guys, as always, we appreciate any comments or any reshares, reposts, any likes, any feedback. We will jump on again next week, but to wrap up today, we hope that obviously you've got really good value from what we've talked about. If anything makes sense or resonates, post in the comments. And we do have lives in more depth on all of these areas. If you do want to check them out, they are on YouTube, or you can look back through mine and Tom's Facebook or LinkedIn. All right, that's it, dude.
All right, good to see you, Michael.
See you next week, mate.
Keep
the strong hair days coming.
I will try my best.
See you later, mate.
Bye.